So if you're thinking about moving to Orlando, you've probably heard two completely different stories. One person tells you Florida is so much cheaper, and someone else says, don't move there. It's gotten way too expensive. So who's right? Honestly, they're both right. Because after helping hundreds of families relocate to Central Florida, I've realized something. Almost everyone budgets for the mortgage. Almost nobody budgets for everything else: insurance, property taxes, HOA fees, utilities, toll roads, even things like groceries and childcare. And that's usually where the surprises happen. So today, I want to break down what it actually costs to live in Orlando. Not just what it costs to buy a house, but what it costs to build a life here. Because if you're planning a move, I want you to know exactly what to expect before you ever start looking at homes. Hey everyone, I'm Chris Bessette with Pinnacle Homes Group. My team and I help people relocate to Central Florida every single week, and people are moving here from all over the country. One of the very first conversations we have, it isn't about bedrooms or swimming pools or golf communities. It's about budget. Not what can you qualify for, but what are you actually comfortable spending every month? Because those are two very different conversations. If you're new to the channel, every week we make videos about what it's really like to live in Orlando. Neighborhood tours, schools, restaurants, housing, hidden gems, the good, the bad, and everything in between. So if you're thinking about moving here, make sure you subscribe. And if you have questions while you're watching, leave them in the comments. So let's start with the biggest expense: housing. Now, obviously, this depends on where you want to live. A condo near Universal is going to be very different than a custom home in Bay Hill, or a brand new home in Horizons West, or an older home in Winter Park. The price of the house is important, but here's what I always tell buyers. Don't buy based on the payment that the lender says you can afford. Buy based on the payment that still lets you enjoy your life. Because what's the point of moving to Florida if every single dollar goes towards the house? One of my favorite things about living here is actually living here. Going out to dinner, playing golf, spending time on the water, taking a weekend trip to the beach. If your house payment leaves no room for any of that, you've probably bought too much house. That's why we spend a lot of time talking with buyers about their lifestyle before we ever start looking at homes. Because the goal isn't just buying a house, the goal is enjoying your life after you move. I remember working with a family relocating from New Jersey. They qualified for significantly more than they planned to spend. And after looking at some really beautiful homes, they looked at me and said, Chris, we don't actually want the biggest house. They wanted money left over to travel, to take their kids to Disney, enjoy their weekends together. I thought that was one of the smartest decisions they could have made. And I think that's a great mindset to have. Now, once you figured out your housing budget, the next thing people usually look at is property taxes. And this is where things can get a little confusing. Property taxes in Florida aren't necessarily high, but they can definitely surprise people. And here's why. Let's say you're looking online at a house. You see the property taxes from last year. You naturally assume that's probably what I'll be paying. Not always. If that homeowner has lived there for 15 years, they may have a homestead exemption. Their taxes have been capped for years. Then the house sells, the property gets reassessed, and the taxes change. I've seen buyers get caught off guard by that. That's why, whenever we're helping someone relocate, we don't just look at what the seller paid, we estimate what the buyer is likely to pay after purchasing the home. It's a much more realistic picture, and it helps avoid some pretty uncomfortable surprises after closing. One thing I always tell buyers, if you're comparing two homes, don't just compare the purchase price, compare the monthly payment. Sometimes a home that's $20,000 more actually ends up costing about the same every month because the taxes or the HOA are different. Those little details definitely matter. Now, let's talk about the one thing that surprises almost every single person moving to Florida: homeowners insurance. I wish I could tell you this wasn't something you needed to think about, but it is. Florida homeowners insurance has definitely become more expensive over the last several years. Now, before you start thinking, maybe Orlando isn't worth it. Don't, because this isn't meant to scare you, it's meant to prepare you. One thing I tell every relocation customer is this: insurance isn't just based on where you live, it's based on the house itself. How old is the roof? When were the windows replaced? Does it have hurricane straps? A newer electrical panel? Is it in a flood zone? All of those things play a role. I've seen two houses on the same street with insurance premiums that were dramatically different, simply because one had a brand new roof and the other didn't. That's why one of the first things we do is recommend getting insurance quotes early, not 2 days before closing. We actually recommend getting your insurance finalized during the inspection period. That way, if the numbers don't make sense, we still have time to figure everything out, and most of our buyers end up saying, "Really glad we looked into this ahead of time." I remember working with a couple relocating from Illinois. They found a house they absolutely loved. Everything looked perfect. Then we started getting insurance quotes. Turns out the roof was nearing the end of its life, and instead of ignoring it, we negotiated with the seller. The buyers got exactly what they needed. The deal stayed together, and everyone walked away happy. That's one of the reasons having a local realtor matters. Sometimes it's not about finding the perfect house. It's about helping you avoid expensive surprises after you found it. Okay, so we've talked about your mortgage, your property taxes, and insurance. Now let's talk about something that people either completely overlook or they don't think about it until after they move: HOA fees. Now, HOAs get a bad reputation sometimes. To be fair, sometimes they deserve it, but a lot of them provide some really great benefits. It just really depends on the neighborhood. Some communities don't have an HOA at all, others might be $50 a month. Some luxury communities, several $100s a month. In condos, those usually have a condo association dues on top of everything else. One thing I always tell buyers: don't ask, does it have an HOA? Ask, what does the HOA actually cover? Sometimes you're paying for lawn care, community pools, fitness centers, gated security, internet, cable, even exterior maintenance. Other times, you're simply helping maintain the entrance and common areas. Neither one is either right or wrong. You just want to understand exactly what you're paying for, because that monthly fee becomes part of your overall budget. One thing I always laugh about is when some buyers tell me, "I don't want an HOA." Then we tour neighborhoods, and the very first thing they say is, "Wow, this neighborhood is so clean." Well, a lot of times that's because there's an HOA helping keep it that way. Now let's move on to the bills that everyone pays every single month: utilities. So, are utilities really that expensive in Florida? Not necessarily. They're just different. Because let's be honest, your air conditioner is going to work, especially during July, August, and September. If you're moving from somewhere with cold winters, you're probably used to paying higher heating bills. Here, you'll probably notice that expenses shift towards air conditioning. The good news is, a lot of the newer homes being built around Orlando are incredibly energy efficient. Better insulation, better windows, higher efficiency AC systems. Those things can make a noticeable difference. And honestly, after living here for a while, you kind of get used to hearing your AC running during the summer. It's just a part of Florida lifestyle. Now let's talk about one expense everybody has, whether you're buying your first home or your fifth: groceries. One thing people ask me surprisingly often is, are groceries more expensive in Orlando? Not by much. You've got just about every option you could want. Your Publix, Costco, Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, Aldi, Fresh Market, Walmart, Sam's Club. Whether you're trying to stretch every dollar or you're looking for specialty items, you've got plenty of choices. Now, will your grocery bill depend on your family? Absolutely. But I don't think groceries are usually the thing that surprises people after they move here. What surprises them is actually how convenient everything is. No matter where you live, you're usually just a few minutes away from just about anything you need. And one of the things my wife and I love most about living here is we don't spend our weekends driving all over town running errands. Everything is close, and that's something you don't really appreciate until you've lived somewhere that isn't like that. Now, there's one expense we have not talked about yet. You may not even realize it's part of everyday life, and that's toll roads. If you've never lived in Central Florida, this might be completely new to you, and it catches a lot of people by surprise. Now, Are there a lot of toll roads? Yes. Do you have to use them? Not always, but depending on where you live and where you work, you'll probably use them pretty regularly. The good news is most of them save you a lot of time. And if you watch my other videos, you've probably heard me say this before, where you choose to live matters a lot. Because I don't just want to find you the right house, I want to find you the right lifestyle. Sometimes spending an extra $20 a week in tolls saves you hours sitting in traffic. Most people will make that trade every single time. That's why one of the first conversations we have isn't, what house do you want? It's, what does your everyday life actually look like? Where do you work? Do you work from home? How often do you go to the airport? Do your kids play sports? How often do you want to go to Disney? Do you want to be close to golf? Because all of those answers help determine where you'll actually enjoy living. If you're moving with kids, there's another expense you'll want to think about early. Childcare. Whether it's daycare, after-school care, summer camps, private schools, or youth sports, these costs can definitely become a meaningful part of your monthly budget. And every family is different. Some families prioritize private school. Others want to be in a specific public school district. Some are looking for neighborhoods with great parks and youth sports. That's why I always encourage buyers, don't just choose a house, choose a community. Because after you've lived here for a while, it's usually not the square footage you remember. It's Saturday mornings at the soccer field, swimming lessons at the YMCA, walking the dog after dinner, meeting the neighbors, watching your kids make new friends. These are the things that really make a place feel like home. One thing I think Orlando does really well is giving you options. Sure, you can spend a lot of money here if you want to. Disney annual passes, golf memberships, amazing restaurants, professional sports, concerts. But honestly, some of my and my family's favorite days don't cost much at all. Walking around Lake Eola, going to a farmer's market, taking the family to one of our parks, grabbing coffee on a Saturday morning, playing around a golf with friends, heading over to the beach for a day, watching a rocket launch. That's one of the things people don't really understand until they live here. You don't have to be on vacation to enjoy Orlando. Life just feels active. And that's one of the biggest reasons why people fall in love with Central Florida. So, how much do you actually need to live comfortably in Orlando? There's no magic number because everyone's definition of comfortable is different. Some people want a golf community. Some people want new construction. Some people want to be close to Disney. Others want acreage or lakefront property or walkability. The important thing isn't finding the cheapest place to live, it's finding the place that fits your lifestyle, outstretching your budget so thin that you can't enjoy living here. That's why my team spends so much time getting to know our buyers before we ever start touring homes. Once we understand what's important to you, we can help you find a community that truly fits. And in my opinion, that's a much better way to buy a home. One thing I've learned over the years, almost every family moves here for one reason. Maybe it's a new job, maybe they want better weather, maybe they're tired of paying state income tax, maybe they just want a fresh start. But something interesting happens after they've been here for a while. The reason they moved here usually isn't the reason they stay. They find a favorite local restaurant. Their kids make new friends. They start spending weekends on the water. They discover neighborhood events. Maybe Saturday mornings become breakfast at a local coffee shop. Sunday afternoons become family walks around Lake Eola. Or maybe they finally get to play golf year-round. Before long, Orlando stops feeling like the place they moved to. It just feels like home. Honestly, that's one of the coolest parts of my job. I don't just get to help people buy houses. I get to watch families build a life here. And that's something I'll never get tired of. So, is Orlando affordable? I think that's actually the wrong question. The better question is, does Orlando fit the lifestyle you're looking for? Because if it does, and you plan your budget the right way, I think you'll absolutely love living. Just remember, budget for more than just the mortgage. Think about insurance, property taxes, HOA fees, utilities, your commute, and how you actually want to spend your weekends. If you do that, you'll put yourself in a really good position to enjoy everything Central Florida has to offer. If you're thinking about moving to Orlando or anywhere in Central Florida, my team and I would love to be a resource for you. Whether you're relocating next month or next year, feel free to give me a call or text at 321-499-9002. Send me an email at chris@mypinnaclehomes.com. or leave your questions down in the comments. We help people make this move every single day, and we genuinely love to help you do the same. And if you thought today's video was helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you'd hit that subscribe button. Every week, I'm sharing honest advice, neighborhood tours, and everything you need to know before making your move to Central Florida. Now, we talked about what it actually costs to live in Orlando, but here's the thing. Moving somewhere isn't just about your monthly budget. It's about what your life actually looks like once you get here. So what do people really do on the weekends? Is Orlando just theme parks, or is there a whole lot more to living here? That's exactly what we're talking about in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this helped make your move to Central Florida a little easier. And remember, when you're thinking about buying or selling a home in Central Florida, I hope I've earned the opportunity to be your realtor of choice. I'll see you in the next video.